Hello, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Whispers from the Void. I'm Evan.
And I'm Phil. Davides for the Intimate. Thanks for tuning in, folks.
Today we are doing our wrap-up end of the year episode. It's going to be a two-parter. Today is going to be the first part of that two-parter. Today we are joined by our fellow album reviewers, Jerry, a returning guest on the podcast, also the metal architect for Vox&Hops. We have James, A.K.A. Jimbo, and we have Dan, A.K.A. Wooderson. How's it going, guys?
Great.
I'm good.
Good to be here.
So for those that do not know, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be out by the time this episode airs, but we did a Thirsty Thursday episode with Matt of Cryptopsy, also of Vox&Hops. As you know, we do all the album reviews, show reviews, and actually some brewery reviews as well. So we debuted our top 10s with him. Today, we're doing something a little different. I have taken all of our top 10s, and they are going to go into the Bruins hat. And we are going to pick 10 bands. And we are going to basically make another top 10 just with whatever I pull out of the hat. It's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. I am not going to know how to read most of them. So we're all going to suffer together.
Yay, suffering is fun.
If black metal has taught me anything, it's the joy of suffering.
Exactly.
First, let's start with what you guys have brought to the table here. I just have coffee in my Lost Shoe Brewing and Roasting Company glass mug that I love, except I can never wash it properly. It always looks a little cloudy. So that's what I got.
Well, I've got
go ahead, James.
So I'm drinking a beer that I got at the gas station across the street. I've never seen it before. I didn't have high expectations because it's one of these dirt cheap, 5-0 beers from Germany, the classic festival beer, but it's actually surprisingly good. And I'm drinking it out of my Waldgeflüster beer mug, which I don't know if you can really see that, but this came as a special edition with like the wooden box pre-order thing, the new album. So very happy.
Nice.
What do you got, Jerry?
For me, I just got some water. I mean, it's like 9 a.m. here in Texas. And
do you know where the water came from?
It came from a lake. It's treated lake water. And I also got some ginger ale for the throat. Kind of feeling a little off yesterday. So I took the day off and just stayed home. So a little ginger ale for the throat. But all is good.
Dan, what do you got?
I have coffee. I'm part of a subscription service for coffee where they curate to your taste and they deliver it like once a week. And so far they haven't missed. And I'm drinking it out of a cup that says, you can't see it because it's reversed, I think, but it says, "Sorry, I'm Canadian," or something like that. So there you go. Yeah. Nothing like a pun first thing in the morning.
You know who would love that is Grayson of Beans and Breakdowns. He would love that. Yes, he would. Okay. He would love that shit.
If I get his name in the Christmas pick list, there, I'm getting him this. So. There's no such thing. I'm just making that up. So.
We should do a Christmas list.
Right?
We should do it.
What
Actually, we should do it with beer though, right? Like I buy for you, you buy for me. Like we should do that. That'd be good.
Yeah.
Hopefully, no government official is watching this.
Nah. We are not as popular for the government.
They don't give a shit.
No, they don't. Yeah.
So I have coffee. It's Keurig coffee, but I put a little twist in it. It's maple syrup, barrel aged in bourbon for 6 months. So it's from BG Brasserie Urbaine in Quebec. So yeah, a little twist, coffee with a little twist. Because I don't want to drink like beer at 10 in the morning.
Why?
Not now.
Fair enough.
This beer fridge next to me is calling my name. So
right.
After this coffee's done, we're gonna hop right onto that. All right, the hat is off. This is the Magic Bruins hat.
Woo!
My top hat didn't come in time, so This is what we're doing. They're like Santa style. Because it is December. Merry Christmas to all you crazy fuckers out there.
Merry Christmas.
We're all going. It's all
You're gonna pull
going
up
in.
Marshan's tongue.
Yeah. Yeah, seriously. Honestly, at this point, I hope we blow it up. That would be fantastic.
Right?
We already have the freaking D tier guys wanting out, so it's not looking good.
Hey, I'm just surprised my Stars have won like 6 in a row right now. I'm totally shocked.
I'm
All right.
just happy the Jets scored yesterday. First time in 10 games.
Yeah, beating up on the Devils. Nice. All right, guys. Let's start with the first one. First one is going to be Cave of Swimmers, Aurora.
Look at that. And that was your number 10 too, right?
Yeah, that was my number 10. Wow.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Okay, so right now we really have nothing to kind of go against it at
number
the
one.
moment. So it is number one. It's the number one album of the year. That was Jerry's number 10.
They'd
Just
be
like-
excited.
Just like that, for people that haven't like heard the album, how can you describe this album? Just to give a little.
It's like a mix of stoner and doom and psych rock metal with a little bit of Latin flair. They're both from Venezuela, but they live in Miami now. I'm not sure if they're brothers or just friends growing up, but they incorporate their heritage into the music. So at times it's real doom heavy, head banging, and then they'll just break out into this little Latin beat, and people, in their music videos, people are dancing and just going nuts. So it's really, really, really unique stuff.
Nice.
I've
Awesome.
just added that to my Bandcamp wish list, because honestly, like I feel like I've listened to a lot of music this year, and then like listening to you guys talk about your top 10s, and I'm like, I haven't even heard like 70% of this. So
Yeah.
I'm constantly just going through and adding things to the wish list.
Yeah,
I
my Spotify Wrapped, I think I had over 100,000 minutes listened.
I had 73,000. I split a lot on Bandcamp. I listened a lot on Bandcamp this year because of this searching for new bands. But it's kind of funny. It's unique that we all kind of get to do it, because especially you three, you guys managed to find like just like the most unique acts out there. It's crazy. All right, our next one that we now get to compare to Cave of Swimmers is Necrotic Gore Beast. Human, what is that? Deviance?
The Human Deviance Galore.
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 Yeah,
I think it's pronounced
when I was
like
cutting
that.
these up, I butchered them a little bit. All right, so now we get to the nitty gritty. Necrotic Gore Beast, Cave of Swimmers.
Now we do like a comparison between those. Like it's slam versus stoner. Like how can you compare it?
I can tell you right now.
Jerry and Phil got to fight.
Jerry and Phil have to virtually throw hands.
Objection! Mine is better.
Set up some Dark Souls PvP or something to sort this
There you go.
out.
Right?
Yes, I would say Cave of Swimmers is better. Sorry, Phil. I'm sorry. I like that album better. I like it better.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, Phil. Like I have listened to both, and I took a lot more from the Cave of Swimmers album. Yeah, for sure. So
That's fine.
Now,
That's fine.
I would say, without having heard either of these albums, a very uninformed opinion. I got nothing against slam, but I am a much bigger fan of like stoner and doom than I am of slam in general. Like I'm a big fan of like Devourment and some of like the bigger slam bands, but I'm a very big stoner and doom fan. So I'm probably going to say that I would, back Cave of Swimmers more. Sorry, Phil.
That's all right. Just like that, I think I would go with Cave of Swimmers too, even though Necrotic is my pick. For the simple reason that I love Slam, but I love Stoner a lot. Because I can have there's more feeling into Stoner sometimes than Slams, except it's pure violence and brutality. And I love Necrotic Gorbies, are friends of mine, but sorry, Necrotic, I will go with Caves of Swimmer, but Necrotic is still on the top. So
sorry, I got someone just rang my doorbell, so I'm gonna have to go and suss that out for a second.
Yep.
Hang on.
No problem.
Yeah, go fight them.
So it's Cave of Swimmer first and Necrotic Gorbies second.
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yes. So Necrotic Gorbies is still posting a number 2 spot, so that's pretty good. Just like that, I opened a Wachusett Brewing Wally.
Two picks in. He's into the beer.
This is too hard. I gotta break out the beer already.
two picks in of it's already driving me the drink.
Right? He's just like, fuck it.
I'll wait for James to come back. So
James is asking him the hot dog question.
Yeah. You know what? I'll ask. How about we do that right now? I'll ask you two. Is hot dog a sandwich?
No.
No.
No. Okay. Give your reasoning.
It's not. It's a hot dog.
Yeah. Because you don't need the bread as a vessel. Like the sausage
as a vessel.
You don't need. I love the way you said that.
You don't need. You just need the hot dog. You don't need the bread. You can just do away with the bread and eat the hot dog on its own. Whether you grill it or microwave it like a heathen.
Yeah. Well, because it's unique because how do you look at I look at breakfast sausage, right? You could get a nice big thing of breakfast sausage, but we don't put that in a bun.
I like where Jerry's going with that, though.
Have a hot dog,
right? Because you can have the hot dog without the bun, right? But what are you going to do? Are you going to have 2 slices of white bread and be like, this is a sandwich, right? Without anything in there?
If you're in Australia, where the sausage sandwich is a fucking classic, then yes.
So, but with nothing in there, though.
Well, you can go the minimalist route, which is just going to be 2 slices of white standard sliced bread with a sausage or a sanger, or sausage sanger is the classic, because a sanger is short for sandwich, because Australians like to shorten things and make everything weird. It will be just a sausage with ketchup or barbecue sauce on the 2 slices of bread. But caramelized onions is also but nothing else. I mean, there's no mustard or anything in there. It's just it's just that. Mm-hmm. And the classic thing is in Australia on election day. So whenever we have to go and vote, there's always somebody barbecuing sausages outside, and you rock up and get a sausage sandwich after you've voted. It's some sort of treat.
Man, all we get is a sticker.
Yep, same.
Yeah, what the fuck?
Right.
Man,
I want to get a sticker and disappointment.
Yeah. that brings us to our next one. We have Fossilization, He Whose Name Was Long Forgotten. This was my pick. This was my number 4. I loved this record.
Yeah.
And you'll hear me talk about it if you listen to the Vox and Hops episode, but it's a Jerry suggestion because I always have at least one. Have at least one of my top 10 that Jerry has somehow found in the nether and brought to light.
It's a sick fucking album. I mean, it didn't make my top 10 because I didn't put any EPs in there, but you and Jerry suggested it, and it's a massive album. I mean, I know it's from some of the guys in Jupiterian. Is that right?
Yeah, 2 of the guys.
I prefer this to Jupiterian quite a lot. I never really got into Jupiterian. It's incredible stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's. I think it's at the top.
Yeah, I would say it's got to go to the top.
Yeah, it's definitely
just my opinion.
You know, it's funny.
Go ahead, Dan.
I bought that a while ago, and now whenever I get the emails from Bandcamp from Transylvanian Records, it always says right in the body of the email, we're letting you know about this release, their new album, because you bought, and then it says in caps, Fossilization, and has the album title every single time. So I'll usually get like 5 emails at a time. That it just makes me laugh. It's just like, it's right in your face. It's like, because you bought this is what you're getting now. So I don't know, I guess it's smart marketing.
I get about 50 fucking emails a day from Bandcamp.
Oh my god!
It's so like, because you bought Vulvodynia in fucking capitals, and it's like,
I love that it's all in caps.
Yeah.
Like I said the other night, if I had added EPs, Fossilization would have been number 1. That's definitely probably the best material I've heard all year. And I echo what James says. I prefer that over Jupiterian.
So how do you guys, because I included EPs, and my thought process in it is that album of the year, things that you listen to throughout the year, though they are not albums, they are they're go-tos. Every time I think about this year, I think about, I had Gravelance and I had Fossilization. They're just 2 fantastic pieces of music. So I mean, do you think that it's sort of like we shouldn't include EPs in a top 10 album, or does it even really matter?
Doesn't matter.
Well, I think
if it was like a release, like top 10 releases, then I would say EPs, demos. I mean, there's been some absolutely killer demos that have come out this year as well that could be included in top 10. But if it was a release, I would say everything's fair game. But then that would get really, really, really hard to narrow it down. That's why I kept mine to albums, because it's a little bit easier. Because, I mean, there were some EPs and demos that were just absolutely fantastic this year.
I think it always depends, because, like, I put 1 EP in my top, and if there's an EP, like, with 2 songs and more, I will put it in my top. But if it's just 1 song or like 1 part of a song, I'm just like, no, don't put it in the top of release. Just like 1 song. Like, but I don't know, even 2 songs, if it's like 2 songs of 7 seconds because it's like a grindcore band, don't put it in your top.
I mean, because how do you define? No, sorry. Because how do you define what an EP is anyway?
That's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah.
I mean, because one of my favorite albums was Moss Giver, and that's a 3-song album, but they've called it an album probably because each of the tracks is like 10 minutes. But you got full albums that run for less time than that. So I just went with the definition of what has the band called it on Bandcamp or whatever. Have they called it an LP or an EP? And so, I probably would have put Fossilization in my top 10. The Mortuary Spawn EP that I think was my favorite EP of the year, that could have gone in. But in order to make my life easier, because I was already having enough trouble culling it down to 10, I decided not to put EPs in. But I don't think there needs to be any rules about it. It's just, we've got enough rules in our regular fucking lives without inventing new ones.
Yeah. I don't think we should make rules about it, but I think it's just like common sense in a way. Because like, if 1 song is an album, it should be like over 20 minutes. In my opinion. But like an album, 1 song, 5 minutes is not an album, it's a single, in my opinion. Like, we can say like Bell Witch with 83 minutes, 1 song, it's a fucking album. But yeah, it's complicated at that point. I think we should just like let it like question with no answers. It just like depends how you feel about it.
We just need suggestions.
I've heard people use the Rain and Blood as the measuring stick. Like, so once it hits like 27 minutes, it's considered an album. Right?
I like that.
Is that the length of Rain and Blood?
I believe so. Yeah, it's like 27, 28 minutes. But then you have something like Cult of Luna, who released an EP last year or this year, and I think it was like 40 minutes, and they called it an EP, right? So I don't know.
Yeah, it's just like, it's like just music and art, that genre right now, metal as a whole. It gets funny. Sometimes things just get a little funny, and but hey, you know what? Fuck it. Who cares? So right now we have Fossilization, Cave of Swimmers, Necrotic Gore Beast. So we have 3 out of our 10. All right, back into the wonderful little Bruins hat here. What do you guys want for Christmas? What's your number one Christmas gift this year? What do you want?
A lot.
Fucking end to the pandemic. Can Santa manage that? I gotta look on my phone because I sent a Christmas wish list to my wife, but I'm such a mess that I can't actually remember what was on the list.
I think I said some boxers because I wear some boxers from 2 Under because they are just so comfy. So I just want more of them, but it's like $40 each.
I need pants, dude. You know what? It's a freaking shame of being, tall and skinny because I have like one size that will fit me in everything, and I nowhere has it. Nowhere ever has it.
Yeah,
Never.
It's always tough. Yeah, pants are always hard for me to find. It's either the length of the waist fits, but the length on the legs, or like I'm like wearing high waters, or it's the length is too long. I'm stepping on them. So yeah, I echo that.
It's a goddamn shame. Like sweatpants. Fucking forget about it. My ankles are showing no matter what.
Well, that's a popular style among some of the youth these days.
Yeah, the ankle showing.
Yeah.
I hate Nothing sexier than a fucking ankle, dude.
Exactly.
Nothing sexier.
I can say what was on the top of my list was the new Suffocation live album.
There you go.
Which, because that's not available on Bandcamp, so I haven't bought it. And, buying physical media is a little bit tricky because I had to get an external CD player for my computer because it doesn't have But that album is apparently very, very good. I've only heard 1 or 2 tracks.
It's a great album. I love, it's fantastic. So.
I even love the old Live in Quebec.
That was good too.
I think that was like a bootleg that somehow got, because it's clearly been recorded in the audience or something. Yeah. But it's awesome.
All right, our 4th pick from the hat is Inoculation Celestial Putridity. This was my number 10.
That's a ripper too.
Yeah.
This is where it gets a little difficult because I would say I want to put it ahead of Cave of Swimmers, but do I really? Because I really liked the Inoculation album, but there's a reason it's a number 10 for me. They do a lot of crazy things. It's a little far from the norm as far as death metal goes, and it's pretty unique with some different speeds and elements. The Cave of Swimmers is it has a lot to take away from. So
I would say we could put it in front of Necrotic.
Oh,
yeah.
I would say so.
Yeah.
Of course. Like Necrotic will end at 10.
Talking a lot of shit about this album though.
I just said fisting, and everyone is just like, nope.
It's fisting.
Hashtag fisting.
I enjoyed that album.
Phil just loves fisting.
I enjoyed that album. Seeing them live kind of like made it pop a little bit more. But I would agree putting it, down number 3 or maybe even at the bottom.
I would say number 3. Now that's also true because I'm supposed to be seeing them live soon. And that's kind of the thing that sucks is like for 200 Stab Wounds I had that reference of seeing it live and being like, oh my god, because it just makes it so much better. I think that it would have made it so much better, but I would say put it in at number 3. That's what I would say.
That's a good point though about seeing a band live and then the impact it could have.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
Absolutely. I'd never been a big fan of, just the first example that comes to my mind, I'd never been a massive fan of Decapitated from Poland. Right. And then I saw them at a festival a few years ago, and they were so fucking good live that I was like, instantly, the music kind of clicked for me, and was much more into them than I had been.
It's always a double-edged sword with some bands because like there's some bands that are very good on albums and that you love, but when you see it live, it just it sucks. But
that's a great point too.
Yeah,
I've had that.
Yeah,
I
and
think
also
it's interesting. Oh, you go, Phil.
and also like there's like the inverse, the opposite, which is like, oh, you don't like this band on album, but when you see it live, it's just like so much better. So it's a double-edged sword.
I would like to add to that and just say that, you know, this year, especially when we were looking at albums to review and things like that, it's a lot of like, there was a lot of one-man shows or two-man shows or something, basically not performing acts or touring acts. So
Yeah, that was
another element of being able to look at these albums is to wonder in what way did the artist want it to be received? What way was it intended? Because obviously a band like Inoculation is going to be like, you know, they put out this fantastic record digitally and on a record and CD and such, but they want you to see it live because that's the way it's meant to be consumed, really. And a band like, you know, we'll say, oh god, like Lux Eterna that we did this year out in Italy, he's a one-man show. And so he's not ever going to be really like a touring act or he's going to be like performing it. He's just as it is intended is as you hear it through the headphones.
Yeah.
So I think it's always interesting to kind of keep that, you know, like Phil was talking about, you know, sometimes you hear these things and you wonder, you know, oh yeah, it sounds great live, terrible digitally, but also the inverse of that.
Yeah, and like I would add an example, like sometimes it's double-edged sword, but sometimes it's not good on album and not good on live, but sometimes it's just like it's so good on album and live. Necrotic Gorbies was one that just hit my face with it. On albums, it's well produced, it's everything good except the demo, but it's a demo so I can understand it in a way. But in live, just like so much better in a way. Like it's the same feeling you have, but you have just like John Mayer just screaming in your face and just like gurgling and just like vomit all his vocal cords on your face. So it's just perfect.
John Mayer talking about fisting.
Not the guitarist John Mayer.
John Mayer.
Exactly.
Not the John Mayer, but like the other John Mayer. And I had like some problem with that.
I don't know another John Mayer.
Didn't this get you laughing the other night as well on Thursdays as well? I saw a couple of people crack up when Phil started talking about John Mayer, and I've gone, hang on, John Mayer, isn't he that guy from like, I can't remember any of his songs, but I remember him. He's like,
he's talking about the subject matter of the.
Didn't Taylor Swift write a song about him then? Right?
Yeah, they dated.
Right, Taylor Swift wrote a song about the guy from Necrotic Gorbies.
Yeah, so we can confirm that Taylor Swift is into fisting
and into slam. She's a slam fan and a fistmeister.
It's gonna one up Miley, right? She's gonna wear a Devourment T-shirt.
Yes.
She's a freaking crowd killer.
I once went to a festival and I got unsurprisingly I got super drunk at some point and couldn't watch the bands, and I just decided I was going to go and buy the most repulsive death metal shirt I could find at all the merch stands, and I got a really hideous Devourment shirt. It was so great. It's got like a big two-headed monster squashing bodies under a giant hammer. It's just the most perfect thing ever.
Yeah, it's just a total. It's just Devourment in a shirt.
It's not even the worst. It's not even the worst Devourment like artwork, because they've got that fucking the first album. What is it? Molesting the Decapitated is just the most, because it's a photograph. It's fucked up, but they're special gentlemen.
Yes.
Shall we say?
All right.
So
we're going into the hat.
I'm
not trying to pick my own here. I'm trying to. So far, James and Dan, we need a pick from you.
We need some black metal in there.
We need black metal, yeah. Huh. Here we go. What luck?
What is it?
Literally just You guys were literally just talking about this. We have Panopticon and again Into the Light. Yeah, whatever.
Panopticon.
There you go.
Thanks. Oh boy, this ought to be good.
It was my number 2. It was James's number 2.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I mean, it's a sensational album. I mean, Dan and I were talking about this the other day. I think it's probably like I wouldn't. It's not my favorite Panopticon album, but my favorite Panopticon albums are like basically some of my favorite albums. So it would be hard pressed. And there's so many great albums that you can't expect all of them to be, the absolute best stuff that he's ever going to put out. But this isn't like. Once again, he's taking things in new directions. He's made a very, very heavy album, very intense, very emotionally raw, and it's got a lot more influence from doom and death metal as well. Like the second track on the album has this very atmospheric intro, and about 2 minutes in, there's this drop, like this fucking guitar tone is the heaviest thing that's ever been on a Panopticon album. It sounds like fucking ISIS or something. It's so heavy, and it sets the tone for the whole album. It's really cool.
Yeah, I think the slight additions that he did to the album, right? I think fully intentional, of course, right? Because the last album, right, with the Americana side, right? Right. I think he was just, and then he had a couple of singles after that as well. And I think he was just kind of like, okay, let's, I don't know, basically almost not mix it up, but it's just like, let's just release something as heavy as we can get. It is kind of what I almost see him thinking there. Yeah. Because he was really, I mean, I do love the Americana stuff for sure, but I don't know, the new album for me, I know I mentioned it before. Yeah, it's not one of your favorite albums from him, but for me, it's right up there. I absolutely love it. So I don't know, anything lower than a 5 in total for this album, I don't know. I might have to fight somebody. So we'll see what happens. So.
Well, we have our first 5 for this part of the, of our little tiny series here. So we have to figure out where we're going to place them. Is it better than Fossilization? Yes.
Yeah, but I'm like a massive fucking Panopticon fanboy. Yeah. So
okay, Jerry.
I would put it number 2 behind Fossilization just because I prefer the style of Fossilization, but I bought that Panopticon album. It is a very good album. It was on my, I guess you could say it would be like an honorable mention for top 10. Right. But I do really enjoy it. I could also make a case for it being number 1 because it's an album, not an EP, and it took more to digest that than the Fossilization just coming up and kicking my ass and taking my lunch money. And but for personal, it'd be number 2 for me.
Mm-hmm. It is an album that I find, even as somebody who's been listening to Panopticon for like a long time and has, I think, everything that they've put out, it's an album that really requires some digestion because it's got a lot going on. It's very layered. I think Dan mentioned that the other day, and it's not a pleasant listen because it's got beautiful parts, but like some Panopticon albums are just beautiful from start to finish. Right. They're like, these sort of serenade to the woods or some shit. Like Autumn Eternal is like a really beautiful album. This is part of that, but it's also very like crushing as well. So it takes a lot of time to digest.
Phil, what are you thinking?
I'm not sure because like I just listened like a little sneak peek of the album, just like the second song, one part of the second song. It's beautiful. It's pretty good, but I just don't know what to think about it because like I don't want to put like no, you know what? Let's say it's number 3.
Ooh.
Just like to keep in the middle because like both Jerry and James like it. Me, I'm not sure, so I will keep it safe for the moment. So number 3.
This might surprise you, but I really like this album, and The only reason I didn't have it on there was because I like to base all of my tops on how often I remember something or how often they're in my ears constantly, because I do like to kind of just pick albums and stuff, and whatever kind of sticks with me kind of tells me like, oh, okay, this is for me, this is good. It's a real selfish way to look at it, because obviously a lot of albums are very, very good, but it just helps me personally dwindle down from all of the craziness, because like Wolves from the Throne Room didn't make it on anywhere. That was pretty good. Of course, there was people with First Fragment. I've seen a lot of First Fragment all over the place. That didn't make it on ours, but that, again, very, very good. So it's hard to kind of... another one that really stuck with me was Devoid of Thought. Had their release. I really liked that. That was in my ears a lot, but it just never really kind of stood the test of time. I'm willing to put this. I'm willing to put this first right now. I'm willing to put this first, because I think that, like Jerry said, we like to talk about albums and EPs and stuff like that. I think that it just has the chops, so I'm just gonna put it first for the ideas that it's not an EP, it's an album, and it's definitely has what it takes. So right now, that would be Panopticon first, Fossilization second, Cave of Swimmers, then Inoculation, and then Necrotic Gorebeast and Fisting. Are there any objections so far?
Not at all.
No, not at all.
No.
Is there anything that you guys would like to say about these bands and albums so far?
Even the album cover of the Panopticon is, I can just stare at that thing for hours. Actually,
I think it's because a lot of their album covers, particularly the last few, have been really nice. This is, and I think I think Austin's wife has done some of the photography, all the photography for the album cover and inside as well. It's beautiful.
It is.
Yeah,
I agree. I really like it. I really like how because a lot of metal is like beer, a lot of relation, because you get drawn to really good album covers, really unique looking album covers, just as you would get drawn to like labels and things like that on beers.
Right.
So we have our 5 for right now. I want to end this part of our episode by just asking everyone real quick, sort of on the fly, like Matt likes to do to us all the time. Give me your beer of the year so far.
All right. I know straight away.
Who wants to go first?
I know what mine is straight away. Yeah. So a couple of weeks ago, I was in Berlin at a craft brewery called Lemke, and they have a fantastic range of beers, but they've just released a series of 4 barrel-aged beers. And so I was there and I got, what was it called? Vinum. So it was called Vinum, and it was a rye whiskey barrel-aged barley wine, 13.5% or something like that. And it was just mind-blowingly good. It was so good because, that kind of style is kind of more common in other places, but it's not so common in Germany. Craft beer here generally is not such a big thing, but these guys just hit it out of the park with a non-traditional style, at least for Germany. It was sensational.
I think it's because of the love purity you have in Germany, I think. If I remember well, there's like this love purity, like it's only like hops, water, yeast, and malt, if I remember correctly. And there's some style that come from Germany, like the Gose, which is like a little bit odd for Germany, but it's a really popular style. But yeah, I can understand there's like this love purity from Germany.
Well, can I say one thing about the Gose thing? Because actually the town where Gose was invented is like 40 minutes from where I live, and
Oh yeah.
you can go to. So the brewery, it's a traditional style, but all the breweries in that town closed down. All of them stopped making Goza for years, and now a couple of breweries have opened and are making it in the traditional way. So Goza in Germany is completely different from like craft beer Goza outside of Germany. They're just like radically different. The sort of sourness and the saltiness is a lot more subtle in the traditional stuff. I mean, I like some of the craft things, but the craft Gozas that I've had in Australia and the US and stuff strike me as much more extreme. They're not really session beers, but the German ones are totally sessionable. They're really, really good. But I mean, I don't want to go on too long because I mean, craft beer is I'm a big craft beer enthusiast, and it's been a little frustrating in Germany. They have a great brewing culture, but it's hard to get craft beer. I think it's probably also that you can get a case of pretty drinkable beer for about $12, whereas craft beer is going to cost you like 3 times that. So there's a cost issue as well.
Who wants to go next? Dan?
Sure. So just a bit of a story behind this one, though, just because a friend of mine, he's had his brewery now for about 3 years, but he's been contract brewing. So that's, you're basically brewing out of another brewery is what it is, right? So they finally acquired their space about 2 months ago, and now they're, tearing everything down and building it back up. But the day that it became official that they acquired their space, we did a bit of a bottle share there. And one of the owners, my buddy Colin, he's been cellaring beer forever, right? And he's, there's one beer in particular, and I remember when he bought it years ago, and he's like, well, for the one day when we actually get our space, we'll have it. So it's a deal with the devil from Anchorage Brewing. It's a 17.5% barley wine, give or take. I think it was a 2014 release, right? So you're looking at about 7 years old. It truly was and truly is the best beer that I've ever had in my life. So at 7 years old, it still had a little bit of a bite to it. As I mean, it's a pretty high alcohol percentage, right, going on there. I think it's aged like 11 months or 18 months in cognac barrels as well, right? So you get a lot of that flavor. Like there's like marshmallow, vanilla, even like underlying chocolate, caramel. Like it's just, it was freaking magical of how great that beer was. So for me, not only the beer of the year, but probably the beer of my life is something that I had a few months ago. Yeah, it was amazing. So yeah.
Jerry.
For me, this is it's a collab from here in Dallas. It's another Celestial Brewworks beer that I had the other night. It's called Cerebus. It's a hazy IPA, and it's brewed. It's a collab between Celestial, Oak Cliff Brewing, and Turning Point Brewery, and it's possibly the best hazy that's here in Dallas. It's soft, it's dank, it's just everything I've ever wanted in a hazy. And I would say number 2 was the stout that was brewed for Abigail Williams. That and I had part in getting that done when I went to that brewery, and they're like, oh, you guys are playing metal, check out this podcast. And then next thing I know, Matt's like, hey, they're doing this Brutal North America thing. So I would say a tie between those two.
Yeah.
The beer was really good. I can't remember the name of it right now. It's been so long since I had it, but it was a stout. It was aged in rum barrels with sea salt and caramel. Yeah, really good.
Phil.
Well, I could say like any Quebec breweries because like they're so good, but I was hooked when I was in Massachusetts. I was hooked by one brewery, and Fort Phantoms just like is one of the best that I tasted so far. But the one that I tasted that I love the most is the study number 1 that we receive. And I'm a big fan of saison, sours, and barrel age, and I think this one it's my number one not my number one right now, because like it's so good. It's like sour saison, barrel age in Cabernet Sauvignon barrel. So like there's this bite into it. There's some tart, but there's like this vibe of Cabernet Sauvignon I love. I think if I have to get like a red wine, it will be the Cabernet Sauvignon. It's my favorite. So a beer with like barrel age in this type of wine, I just love it. So study number 1 by Four Phantoms Brewing Company. Shout out Drew.
Shout out Drew. My number 1 might surprise you. Normally, I talk so much about Four Phantoms. I agree with Phil that the study number 1 was fantastic. But I had a beer from, oh god, I believe it's called Omi Gang.
Oh yeah.
Out in Cooperstown, New York.
They're fantastic.
Yeah. I had the beer, the Three Philosophers.
Oh.
It's a quadruple ale.
Yeah. Perfect.
In a Belgian Kriek ale. I believe I said that right.
Yep.
I have to tell you, not to set the scene, I was at a pretty expensive steakhouse with my father, and they're located in a casino. And so it's like, it's wine everywhere. That's sort of the vibe. They have a big wine fucking cellar. Basically, it's a tower. And it's crazy. And they have a beer list. And they have a craft beer list. And the craft beer list is 4 beers. There's 4 beers on there. For a place like this to have craft beer at all is impressive. And this beer was on that list. And I have to tell you, for a quad, it was subtle. As far as taste goes, it was literally like a fine. It literally was like a fine wine. I can see why it made it into this very prestigious, very like higher end restaurant. And so it was a pleasant surprise. I really wasn't expecting anything like it. They give you the full bottle. So,
Nice.
You're paying for the full bottle and stuff. It's a slow sipper, meant to be savored, meant to be enjoyed. You don't find that in beer a lot. It really just was something else, something incredible. So I loved it.
Yeah,
I thought it was fantastic.
That's probably like, I would put that in my top 10 of all time beers for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're
I'm pretty
owned
sure.
by Duvel, right?
Yeah.
Like the Belgian company.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that beer. That's also the same brewery. They do all the Game of Thrones beers. Do you remember that? Do you remember those
They
beers?
do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They did those too. So yeah. Anyways, so good. Shit.
Oh, all right, guys. Well, that concludes our first part of our 2-part for our new top 10 of our 50 bands. Thank you guys so far. We will see you on the next one. I'm Evan.
And I'm Phil, and see you on the